What's up, JEFusion fans? This is Philip and welcome back to another video. So this is actually going to be part 2 of my George Karisaki character review. Now, in the previous video, link in the description, I talked about how George could become a villain in the future, and I did mention that uh, it could be possible that he's going to become a Kamen Rider. And that part is what we are going to focus on in this video. So before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that these videos are not intended for viewers under the age of 13, so please be advised. So in the previous video, I only mentioned that it's possible, right? So how is he going to become a writer in this show? Now, there was a comment, and I think it was the only comment in the previous video. So shout out to Ares God of War for commenting that George Karisaki could become a snake-themed writer, considering that the writers he created so far, aside from Vice, so Evil is based on a bat, and the third writer, Demons, is Spider. So we can see that these writers are obviously inspired by, you know, the original Spider and Bat Shocker. So these monsters actually appeared quite a lot in across the Kamen Rider franchise, and of course they were typically some sort of homage to the original, but this time he turned them into riders rather than just simply monsters. So again, it's an interesting thought. However, I do see another possible form that George could take if and maybe when he becomes a Kamen Rider. There is another important vice stamp that he has in his possession. That would be the Bata vice stamp, the Grasshopper vice stamp, the vice stamp that is based on the original Kamen Rider. Yes, I'm talking about Kamen Rider Ichigo. Now, uh, again, we do see that George is a fan of Kamen Rider, and he even has an SHF of Ichigo in one episode. If that's not blatant advertising, I don't know what is. But yeah, I could see it coming, a hopper-based rider, which is obviously going to be a homage to the original Kamen Rider Ichigo. So this could potentially be George's Kamen Rider form. If not, we could go with the snake form theory. Again, it still makes sense given, although it's more of a homage to shocker monsters, but here, George making, again, using the Ichigo, or Bata rather, vice stamp, and then using it to turn into a Kamen Rider is at least more sensible given his character. He claims to be a fan of Kamen Rider, and well, even IRL. He does flex a lot of his Kamen Rider figures on. I'm talking about the actor, by the way. So, yeah, George's actor posts a lot of Kamen Rider figures on his social media. So, again, him becoming a rider that is based on Kamen Rider Ichigo is more of an ultimate fanboy dream come true for him personally as a character. So I'm actually looking forward to that one happening. So, but whether he's going to use it for evil or he actually is a good guy, that's a different story. So if you guys missed the previous video talking about George, again, link is down in the description. In that video, it'll explain everything, or it'll at least explain why I think George could become a potential villain. So, you know, actually considering that, Kamen Rider Ichigo, as a creation of Shocker, was originally intended for evil, George's rider form could potentially start out like that, but eventually, if let's say he turns good, so that's something that could happen, alluding again to the original Kamen Rider Ichigo, who was originally used for evil, and then he fought for justice. So yeah, that's an interesting thought in my opinion. Now, another thing that actually uh, you know raised my interest in the idea of George becoming a Kamen Rider is that, let's take a look at the three other Kamen Riders first. Now, I guess this one is going to be a spoiler. Now, if you're on the interwebs lately, especially on Facebook, if you've been following a lot, so I apologize. Maybe I should have put a spoiler alert at the beginning, but okay, I'm putting the spoiler alert here now. Hiromi Kadota is confirmed to be the third Kamen Rider Demons, aka Kamen Rider Spider-Man. I'll talk about that probably in a future video when he already makes his debut. But yes, Hiromi is going to be our third rider. So if you don't know who Hiromi is, he's supposedly going to be the Phoenix Commander, but he was demoted after failing to stop the attack on Phoenix, in episode 1. So he was the guy who tried to use the Revice driver and failed, which results to him bringing forth the Rex dead man. So yeah, he's that guy. So now he's going to actually become a Kamen Rider, and technically speaking, he could be the secondary rider because his belt is the second belt that we see developed by George. And the one that Daiji receives is the third design. So, again, by order of precedence, sure, technically Daiji or Kamen Rider Evil is the second rider to appear, but if we look at the belts created in chronological order, then Demons is the second rider to appear. So it's quite confusing, I know, but again, that's how I make sense of it. Sorry. But George becoming a Kamen Rider, so going back to that topic, he could be the fourth Kamen Rider. Now, how did I come up with this? Actually, I did see this on a Thai fan page on Facebook, and now the hint here is actually looking at the three main riders' names. So the first three riders to appear in the show. So Ikki, Kamen Rider Revi. So his kanji, okay, his name in kanji has the symbol for 1. And Daiji, being his younger brother, has the symbol of 2 in his name. So I guess we could say that he is kind of the secondary rider. So yeah. And what's interesting is that if we look at Hiromi Kadota, so by the way, I did mistakenly call him Hiromi Wakabayashi. Wakabayashi is actually the leader of Phoenix. So I apologize for that mistake. So anyways, so Hiromi Kadota what is interesting is, so his name is written in katakana. Now, his family name, Kadota, is written in kanji, but Hiromi is written in katakana. And the mi in Hiromi is kind of the katakana version of the symbol of 3. So it looks like this. You know, the number 3, when you write it in kanji, it looks like 3 bars horizontally, and it's basis for the katakana mi as well. And in some cases, when you read number 3 in Japanese, so like you get words like mitsu. Okay, so the mi symbolizes number 3, which makes sense given that Hiromi is the 3rd Kamen Rider to appear in the show. However, why is George Karisaki, or how is George Karisaki the 4th Kamen Rider? His name, George. Now, we can say that, you know, it's kind of like an English name. However, it does sound like the name of what we call, or who we call, Kamen Rider number 4, aka Rider Man. That's right, we're talking about Joji Yuki. Now, again, Joji Yuki is, well, Joji can be written, I believe is written in kanji, but yeah, so his Joji, George. So I'm pronouncing the name George in a very English manner, right? So how you pronounce George, right, with the R. But in Japanese style pronunciation, George is read or pronounced as Joji. Joji. So, like the whole, like the sound, the homophone, okay, of those names makes sense if we're going to make George like Joji, Kamen Rider 4, or Rider Man, technically, but he is sometimes dubbed as Kamen Rider 4. So, again, George Karisaki, or Joji Karisaki, you know, becoming the 4th Kamen Rider in this show makes the most sense. So, yeah. Anyways, what do you think of this idea, guys? So, tell me down in the comments. So, anyways, if you enjoyed, please do like this video, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell so you get the latest from JEFusion. This has been Philip, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!